Okay. And we are off. So thank you all for jumping on here. So what we're looking at is your guys' specific site. This is adult.assessments.com. And I can't hear anything. Are you talking in here? Let me just pause for a second. So I'm going to hit record here again. And let's do this. Okay. So looking at your guys' site, so when you guys log in, and again, I'll get with Natalie after this and get you all your appropriate login credentials. I know that they'll cycle through and we'll get you some new ones. But the site you'll be going to that I'm going to be showing you is your guys' what we call production site, which is adult.assessments.com. And in looking at this right now, when you log in, this is what you'll be seeing. So Charday. Okay, so Charday is here. Thank you for jumping on, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So looking at this, so when you log in, you'll always be presented to the home screen where you can work with your subjects or all subjects. So you can see here we can work with just my caseload or work with all subjects. And by doing that, it allows you to limit your caseload. But in this case, since you guys are new to this environment, the first step in doing an assessment is creating that new subject or client. So when you log in, as you can see here, we have the home page, assessments, reports, and then underneath that, we have create a new subject, transfer subject. So if you guys are transferring clients or from one to another, you can do that. As we do that a lot with our probation departments and just clients in general that need to transfer their clients. We have that functionality in here. Or if you need to just come in and search for a subject as your caseload is, your guys' caseloads may not be getting that big, but whereas you start getting a large caseload, many with the same last name, first name, you can search for it by just search for subject. It brings up the search field here where you can search and it'll narrow down your results, and then also by caseload. So as you guys get larger, it's really just for the admin team to be able to look at the caseloads and whatnot. But I'm not going to focus on that since we're just working on the creation of the clients and the assessment. So to create a new subject, you just simply hit create a new subject. So as you come in here, it will prompt you to put in the necessary information to create your guys' clients. So as you can see here, the asterisk fields are the required fields. So first name, let's just put in here. We're going to put in UDC tester. Then you put in birth. Just one moment. Okay, so as you add in the date of birth and then the gender, male or female, and then down below, whatever is applicable down here, so also known as email address, physical address, city, state, so whatever in province, whatever is applicable again here, it's not necessary, but the more information as you guys know, the better. So when you hit submit, it's going to say, okay, you can either work with this subject, or if you want to add in a new subject, if you're adding in multiple subjects or clients, you can hit cancel and it'll bring you to that page again. But in this case, we've added in this subject successfully, and it will prompt us to this individual's homepage. As you can see here, it brings us just to their profile or their homepage, and it displays just their basic information. And then down below, you have the ability to, where these fields apply to you guys, is the assigned item and the unassigned item. The CCR is just in the adult world, we call that, with a lot of our clients that use this environment, they call it criminal conviction record, but it doesn't apply to y'all. And so we're just going to worry about assigning a gain SS. And so when you guys get into your library, there are multiple tools that can be accessible to folks. But in this case, again, just keeping it simple, you guys have one tool, the gain SS. So to do that, you just hit apply. Once you've applied it, it will prompt you to say, you can open it, or if you want to go back and the subject's home screen, you can do that. But in this case, we want to open up the gain SS. And it's a really quick screener. I mean, this takes 3 to 5 minutes to fill out. Everything's automated, so as soon as you go through and fill out these radio buttons, which I'll explain to you here shortly, it automatically generates that report, and you can dive right in to see what those results look like. So as you can see here, once we've assigned and applied this gain SS, it prompts us to the actual questions. And so there's 4 domains in here, or 5 once we get into that last domain. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go through and fill this out just as if we're working on a real client. So what I'm going to do here then is, so in this case, I'm just going through each question. Feel free to chime in here if you guys have any questions, but very easy to fill out. So the first one, as you can see, is when was the last time you had significant problems with feeling trapped, lonely, sad, blue, depressed. So you guys are more familiar with your field when you get into. There's certain ways you can ask these, and you'll build up a way how you can phrase some of these questions. Everyone has their own way of getting into this, and it's interesting as we had a discussion last week with Deborah Jones as we're entertaining some ideas around some MI training. Is a lot of these assessments, and just real quick, I like to just touch on it, is the MI comes into this, whereas how you guys get the correct responses, that piece comes in. So I'm excited, just as I don't know who will be part of that MI training and when we do it, but we're thinking about coming on site in September and doing some of that motivational interviewing, which will help. You guys are aware, folks that have been in MI before, this really helps this process. So just like to point that out there. Some of these questions you look at are pretty short, and going about getting those responses as you get more familiar with this assessment and you dive into some of the training, you'll feel more confident about this, but you'll get there. So on the second, if we select one of these, so when I select one of these responses in here, and we call these radio buttons, it'll automatically remove the previous selection. So there's no way to screw up this assessment. So what I'm saying is when you fill this out and you forget the answer, it'll prompt you and say, hey, you forgot to fill out question 1D. Please, fill out the appropriate response. So this questionnaire or assessment cannot be completed until every question's been has an answer with it. But with this type of assessment, it's very easy as we go through it, which I'll show you. For you guys, it'll be a breeze. So as you can see here, we're getting down into the second one. When was the last time you had significant problems with sleeping, such as bad dreams, sleeping restfully, or falling asleep? And again, this is addressing the internalized sleep disorders. So we will select whatever is applicable here. So whether it's been within, if it's been a year or longer, or if it's been within the last month, but over 2 months, or if it's been within the past month, that's how these severities are gathered. So it is based off of time frames. Question here. Oh, someone does not see the assessment. Okay, I apologize. Let me back up a little bit. Is that better? Sometimes there gets a little delay in there and I have to kick it in. Okay, so the PDF, let me back up. There might have been just a little brief period there where my screen wasn't showing. The PDF is, that is what I sent with you, Natalie. That is just something to send to your, to the students and folks that will be performing this assessment. It's just a guide if they're wanting to know how these responses are collected and why. It's just a little bit more education as you dive into these and you start looking at the reports and connecting the dots. That fact sheet that I sent to you was something that you can disperse how you see fit, but it will definitely help in comprehending this assessment. So I apologize for the lag there. Let me just back up for just a second. So so you guys can see this from the very beginning. So let's see. So just take what I said. Let's just back up for just a second. I feel like you guys can see the design process with the lag there. So okay, so backing up just a second now. So getting into once the assessment's been assigned. So if we've gone into the assign an item, and I'm just going to go back in here just in case this was skipped over. So when you go into assign an item, once the subject's been created, all you do is hit apply. And so once we do that, the reason it's going to tell us no is we already have one that's been assigned. I'm just showing you this just very easy to assign and fill out. And once you've assigned it, it'll take us back to the one that's already done. We just go in here and you click on the Gain SS, and literally pops up that assessment, which I did, which probably got skipped with that little lag in there. But once we click on the Gain SS, y'all, what it will do is it'll pull up this questionnaire. Very user-friendly, like I was stating before, is that you can't screw this up. There's no way of messing up this assessment if you're worried about it. So once you get the Gain SS pulled up, we are now into the questions that I was describing that you can now see as you go through and fill out with these radio buttons. So as I start through these again, it probably makes more sense to y'all now that you can see what I'm seeing, is that once you pull this up, these radio buttons, as we get into these domains, we have here domain 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the last one, which is 5 other responses. It's a very quick screener to go through, like I was saying, 3 to 5 minutes as you select these questions and as you get more familiar. And that's why I was talking about the motivational interviewing, is that as you look at some of these questions even, where it says, when was the last time you had significant problems with? The MI piece, what Deborah and Gwen, our trainer, were talking about over the weekend, incorporating into this is a big piece of giving the correct responses, building you guys' skill set, is, because if you look at some of these and you're not familiar with the GAIN SS, and that's why, Natalie, I did share with you that fact sheet as I was thinking, how can I best help these guys once I show them the software? Once I get you guys off and running, this piece really is the easy part. Getting in and putting in the information into the system is the easy part, but making sure that you guys are getting the correct responses, well, that's where it becomes a little difficult, and being able to phrase the questions appropriately where folks aren't feeling threatened or whatnot. And so that is why I sent the fact sheet over to you. And then also we talked about MI training in September. So just things on how you better build your skill set as you use the GAIN SS. So that is just a tidbit there. So diving back into the actual assessment piece. So now we are at the, and this is only a one-page screener, so you don't have to go through different pages to follow on one page. So as we look back at these questions now, so domain 1, internalizing disorder screener. So I just want to show you again, if I change my responses in here, as you can see, it'll automatically remove the previous selection. So there's, again, no way of screwing this up. I just like to harp on that a little bit just because folks get a little wary about, what if I screw up and put something wrong here? You can actually go back and edit the assessment and it'll automatically rescore, but there's really no way to screw this up. All right, so diving back into the questions now. So when was the last time you had significant problems with sleeping, such as bad dreams, sleeping restlessly? Again, you would apply whatever is applicable here. So again, it's a duration type of a response. So if it's never, you would hit never. 1 or more years ago, you would hit, select that. 2 to 12 months, if that is the correct response there. And then again, the last one, which is the past month, which would carry the most severity, which is item response number 3. So again, just pointing that out. So as we get into some of these questions, when was the last time you had significant problems with feeling very anxious, nervous, tense? I'm just going to select just some dummy responses in here. When was the last time you had significant problems when something reminded you of the past and you became very distressed and upset? Again, we'll just put another response in there. When was the last time you had significant problems with thinking about ending your life or committing suicide? So again, as you can see, these questions are very basic and the responses don't get too technical. So again, when you guys become more familiar with this assessment and how you figure out how you can get the correct responses in here, you don't always have to follow this exact question to a T. You can incorporate whatever you feel is best to get that response. So just like to point that out. So domain 2, we're now getting into the externalizing disorder screener. So as you can see, it says, when was the last time you did the following things 2 or more times? So past month, 2 to 12 months. So whether it's lied or con to get things you wanted to avoid, to avoid having to do something. Oh, was there a question there? Okay, I think someone was just talking. Okay, so I'm going to select again, just a basic response. So when was the last time you did the following things 2 or more times? Had a hard time paying attention at school, work, or home? Again, whatever is applicable there. So we're just going to put never in this instance. When was the last time you did the following things 2 or more times? Had a hard time listening to instructions at school, work, or home? We'll put within 2 to 12 months. And when was the last time you did the following things 2 or more times? Were bullied or threatened by other people? Again, we're just going to put whatever is applicable there. When was the last time you did the following thing 2 or more times? Started fights with other people? We're just going to put past month. And now we get into domain 3, which is the substance abuse disorder screener. And you see here, when was the last time you used alcohol or drugs weekly? We'll just put 2 to 12 months. When was the last time you spent a lot of time either getting alcohol, drugs, using alcohol or drugs, or feeling the effects of alcohol or drugs high or sick? So again, whatever is applicable for that response. When was the last time you kept using alcohol or drugs even though you thought it was causing social problems, leading to fights, or getting you into trouble with other people? We'll put past month. And then when was the last time you used alcohol or drugs caused you to give up, reduce, or have problems at important activities at work, school, home, or social events? Again, whatever is applicable there. And then when was the last time you had withdrawal problems from alcohol or drugs, like shaking hands, throwing up, having trouble sitting or sleeping, or that you used alcohol or drugs to keep you from avoiding or getting sick or withdrawal problems? So we're going to put 1 plus here. Okay, so now we're on to the domain 4, which is the crime and violence screener. And when was the last time you had a disagreement in which you pushed, grabbed, or shoved someone? We'll just put over a year ago. And when was the last time you took something from a store without paying for it? We'll put 2 to 12 months. And when was the last time you sold, distributed, or helped make illegal drugs? 1 over a year ago. And when was the last time you drove a vehicle while under the influence of alcohol or drugs? I'll put never here. And then when was the last time you purposely damaged or destroyed property that did not belong to you? Let's put 1+1 over a year ago. So now we get into domain 5, other responses. So this gets into if there's any other significant psychological, behavioral, personal problems you want treatment for to help with. So any of the other domains that you feel like we're not touched, or if you feel like there's something else that is needing further attention, you would list that here. So if we're going to put, I'm just going to put testing, so you can see this in the reports. And then we're going to flag the response. If it's yes, we're going to put yes. If no, obviously you don't put anything into those text fields for items 1, 2, and 3. And then down below it says what is your gender. So we're going to put what the gender is. I think for this client they were female. Their age, they were 26. And then down below you have comments. And this doesn't bear any weight on when it's scored. This is simply just for your guys' notes when you're looking at the reports, printing them off. If there's anything in there that you want to add to, say, one of the domains that you feel like you need to follow up on, if there's something specific to an appointment to, say, one of these domains where, hey, this individual has an appointment set to look at their ADHD. So whatever it is, you can throw comments in there. And then down below, we have there's a question. Are we asking question 5 to a client? Oh, that is based off your responses. And well, basically, as you get into it, it can go both ways. And so I think that's why that MI piece is so important, is that you'll be able to gather, most of the time you'll be able to gather from yourself whether that client is hostile, depending on how they come into the interview setting. You'll most of the time be able to grab, the information yourself. But if they're willing to say, hey, I'm also, this is another area that, I need some help with. So it can come both ways, but I would say 75% of the time it's you documenting it. And that is a great question. Thank you for asking that. Okay, so moving on, if there's not any other questions to that, you bet, you're welcome. Okay, so then for the staff use, so yeah, this is just strictly for you guys down below. So if you guys have internal IDs that you use, this is just for reporting purposes. So as you guys dive into the reports, so like if Deborah or anybody, just admin, want to look at this and they have unique identifiers that you guys use, I'll show you afterwards what that looks like, but it's just a way for you guys to put in whatever staff information you have, like your site name, if it's UDC, or if it's somewhere off-site. So really just a way for you to be able to use this as needed. So I'm just going to put some dummy ones in there. Staff ID, client ID. Okay, and then down below, as you can see here, so once you guys get into further, I don't think you'll dive into this by other people administering it. It's just going to be administered by your staff or students. So again, just areas of how you can document this when you get further into that. But I don't think this is an area that you guys really need to worry about. So once we've finished it and you put in just the base, your info, and you put in the staff information and any comments, when we're done, you have the ability to save in progress. Let's say, for example, you're not really sold on one of these responses and you don't want to hit complete. That's fine. You can also, just something I like to point out is that it is good to not hit it, complete on an assessment, whereas you feel like maybe some of the information isn't correct. But you can also come back, whereas if you do hit complete, you can edit that assessment right away and change the response, and it'll change that report. So just keeping that in mind when I show you this. So you do have the ability to save in progress. So I just want to show you that. So if, again, you're not sure about a response in there and you want to come back to it. So if I hit save in progress, it's going to say, okay, your answers have been saved. Thank you. And it's going to bring me back to the client's homepage. And as you guys can see here, it's still in the assigned column. But what it's going to do, it's going to save those responses. So anytime I come back in here, I don't have to start over. It remembers where I left off, and where I left off, everything was still filled out. So in this case, just wanted to show you that when you come back in. But we're going to hit complete now. So we're going to show you what it looks like to complete an assessment. So by doing so, I just go down to the bottom of the page and hit complete. When I do that, it's going to tell me whether or not I completed the assessment. Well, in this case, I did it. And what I was talking before, if you don't fill out all the assessments entirely, or the questions entirely, it'll flag it in here and say, oh, please go back and fill out question 2D. And then once you've done that, that'll complete the assessment. So once we've scored it, it says, okay, you've completed this assessment. The assigned now goes to complete it. As And so by looking at this report, as you can see here, we have R button and E button. That E button is going back to the edit. So if you ever need to come into an assessment, you're like, oh no, they gave me the wrong response, right? I put the wrong response in here. All you have to do is just hit edit. It'll pull up that assessment again, which I'll show you once I go through the report. You change that, hit complete, you're good to go. So in this case, we want to look at the results for this individual. And it brings back 3 reports for the GAIN SS. The first one is the report version. It's just the questions with the responses. And then once if we want to look into the actual summary report and some of the other ones, we have the summary report and the full report. What this gets into, if we click on the summary report, it breaks down what that risk level looks like. So based off of how we filled out this assessment and its overall risk, it looks like for this individual, they are high. And it breaks it down per domain. As you can see here, the internalizing disorder came back at a 3 out of 5, which is high. The externalizing disorder, moderate, and then the rest of them follow suit. And then down below, we have how those were answered, and then the referral summary. So you have referral for evaluation by a mental health service provider, as well as an evaluation by a substance abuse service provider, and for anger management or legal services. Well, this is great. So if you guys want to look at the narrative report, well, the full report, you just hit full report and hit go. And what this does is it kicks back that GAIN SS, which I call the narrative report, full report. So as you can see here, it gets into the narrative, what those internalizing disorders look like, externalizing disorders, and down below, what that summary looks like. So as you can see here, during the past year, she was high in severity range on internalizing disorder, the moderate severity range on externalizing disorders, the moderate range for substance use disorders, and the moderate range on the crime violence screeners. So as you can see here, it breaks everything down into a narrative report. So with that, before I dive into some of the other reports that we use, any questions, comments, feedback, areas I need to go back and revisit for this specific GAIN SS, I just like to stop and allow folks to chime in. All right, I'll take that as a no, which is a good sign. Okay, and it is. It's very easy, you guys. And then also, you can use us as needed. As you get in here and you start working on assessments, myself, Tom Moga, who is another support agent, we have staff available to you guys as you get in there. So don't feel like when you get in and you're creating a subject and you're stuck, like, oh no, what do I do? I'll give you our toll-free number and my number as well, so you guys can always call us with any questions. Like I said, and you guys probably saw it, like this is super simple to use. I'll dive into more of the reports here shortly. But yeah, we're available to you guys as needed. Okay. Well, good then. So we've gone through, just to recap on what we've gone through the creating the subject. So when you log in, again, you just go, as soon as you log in, you go to your home page, you hit create new subject. Very simple. All you do is just put in first name, last name, just the basic information for the required fields. You're good to go. And then once you've created that subject, it's basically just about, let me pull up that subject so you can see them. Is simply all you have to do is hit assign an item. It'll assign that GAIN SS like we just went through and completing it. So that is the steps of creating a subject and then assigning the GAIN SS and completing a GAIN SS for that specific individual. Something else I like to show you guys, which is pretty cool, just some tools that we have to be able to work as you're working with clients to see results and whatnot. I like to dive a little bit into the reports. And again, as you guys get further into this, you may forget some of it, but again, you can always call us and say, hey, how do I access this or this? That's what we're here for. So under the report section now, the areas that are applicable to you guys with this tool would be the QA statistics, the compare subjects, and upcoming reassessment. So depending on what those business rules and how you and Deborah, now however you guys, maybe you haven't determined how you're going to be filling these out, how often. I know with some of these, once you've determined what areas of need to be addressed, you move on and you don't do a reassessment on these. But in the instance you guys want to be doing reassessments to just check on the status of the individuals, we do have what's called the upcoming reassessments tool. So what this allows you to do, so if you're working with a large list of clients, or just in general, you want to just see when you guys have a upcoming reassessment due. So if you're doing them, say your business rules are once a month, or every 6 months, whatever that is, it'll run it based off however you guys, those work. So if you're doing it, say, every 2 to 3 months. And again, it may not be applicable to your guys' business rules, but just like to show you the results nonetheless. So if I run it to be done every 2 months, it'll say, okay, based off of your caseload, you have one that's overdue, and the rest are okay, but it's telling you when those due dates are. So it just keeps things in check if you guys follow certain type of business rules when you're performing assessments. So that is a tool that's very useful. The compare subjects is one probably most clients use when it comes to substance abuse tools or anything, maybe even tools like this. And so as you can see here, if you hit compare subjects, it'll take us into your guys' assessment, which is the GAIN SS. And so what I'm going to do is just hit go, and it brings up a list of everyone that's completed a GAIN SS in your guys' site. So if I bring up that drop down, it's going to say, okay, choose from this list, who do you want to compare? So if I just hit add to list, add a few in there, and hit go, what it's going to generate is that report and say, okay, these are the differences between these individuals. If you're just running data and you want to see what the population looks like, or just in general how everything looks, you can run this and see what that comparative report looks like. And then the last thing I want to show you is the QA statistics. And this gets into, if you want to see how, again, I don't know if you guys will be diving much into this, but for data analysts and folks like that, if you want to see how certain answers are getting a response, you can dive into those specific answers and see who's responding what. So the QA statistics allows you just to, look at each question and see how it's responding. So I'll show you that. So if you select from the assessment type here, if you want to choose active and archive, you can. If you want to just choose active. But in this case, we're going to choose GAIN SS, and you can choose specific questions from the assessment to analyze. But in this case, I'm just going to hit all questions because there's not very many to choose from. And what this does is it brings up the those questions and how they were responded. So if I look at this one, like domain 1A, when was the last time you had significant problems with feeling very trapped, lonely, sad, blue, depressed, or hopeless? It's going to say, okay, there were 7 total participants. What are those? What do those responses look like? So based off this, we have 2 that responded with between 2 to 12 months. We have 3 that responded over a year, one year or over, and then 2 that have answered as never. So again, if you just want to look at the data to see I wonder how this is getting responded, it really allows you as a staff or just your group to see where some of the areas of need might be as well. So that is the report. So with that is the GAIN SS. And the reports, how you guys utilize this tool. So I think that's about a wrap other than question. Oh, let's see, will we be using any other assessment besides the GAIN SS? No, so you will not, at this point, you guys are only using the GAIN SS. Until I hear something from Deborah or others, at this point, it's just that tool. Okay, so any other, oh, so what was that?
I was saying, okay, thanks.
You are welcome. Any other questions, feedback, concerns, anything you want me to go back and address again? Okay. Well, thank you all for jumping on here. What I'm going to do then is I'll finish recording this. I'll get it all cleaned up, and then Natalie, I'll send it over to you. Before we jump off, can you just let me know, can you just tell me how many credentials or how many user IDs do I need to create? And if you want to email them to me, if that's easier, that's fine. Names, do I need all that, or do I just need a user, pretty basic, 5 user IDs? Does it matter on that? Should I follow? Do you want to just email me their names so I can just create those accordingly, and then I can send them over to you to disperse? Okay. Well, thank you. All right, so between Natalie emailing me the list of names, I'll create those within your guys' site, and then I'll send those back over to her. I'll get this session finished, and the recording finished, and then I'll send it over to you as well, Natalie, and then you can share with those that didn't make it. Okay, well, thank you all, and enjoy the rest of your day. And if you need anything from myself or my team, I'll include that when I send it over to Natalie, and you guys can call us whenever you need. All righty.
Thank you.
Okay, see y'all.